God bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. Let me first start off by saying I come too far from where I started from. I come too far to give up now. Florida has a problem, and we need to help Florida fix their problem. I heard Bishop Curry talk about an F school. Well, Florida is an F state. F is for Florida, because right now, Florida is failing us. Florida is failing our teenagers. Florida is failing our young men and women. Florida has to change this law now. When we first started off, Trayvon Martin was our main and only focus. We never imagined how many people would be hurting, how many people would go through this with this same law, how many people would get off and not be held accountable. We had no clue that it was so rapid. But guess what? Everybody is using the stand your ground law, because that law is telling people I can shoot and kill someone and not be held accountable. I want to say today that yes, election season is coming, and it's going to be a very important season for us. We have to make sure now that we are signing our men and women up, that they have correct mailing addresses, that if it need be for them to do an absentee ballot, absentee voting, they need to set that up now so that they have your correct address, and that you are going out fighting for people who support your issues. Amen. Stand your ground will not stand, and I say that with authority because I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that this law is wrong. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Stand your ground is absolutely, positively wrong, and it has to be changed. So the people that are supporting this awful law because it has not hit your front door, to the people who are supporting this saying, well, it benefits African Americans, to the people who say, well, we don't quite understand this law, but I'm going to use it, you all need to sit down.
I'm a firm believer in that this stand your ground law is like a bad email. Once you open it up, it go viral. Today, we stand here to say we the computer geeks. We gonna clean this stand your ground law up. I'm a firm believer in, I can't be mad at the system because the system wasn't meant to protect us. But Reverend Mal told me 2 years ago that whatever you do, I'm going to be with you 110%. Reverend G.B.R. told me the same thing. They standing with me today. They're going to continue to stand with us. We're going to stand with you all. We're going to continue to fight. In 8 months, if stand your ground ain't changed, we got to make a change in that office. I remember the day just like yesterday. Governor Rick Scott sat there at the table with us in Sanford, Florida, and said he was appointing a special prosecutor. She sure was special. She sure was special. Somebody said that she gotta go. She gotta go. The time is now. The time is now. We got to show up, we got to show out, we got to vote. Thank you.
Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton, I want to bring to join us another beautiful person who has never said a vile word, who never said anything that would in any way bring harm, as she expressed the pain in her heart. I met her soon after she lost her son. I was flying somewhere, we were on the same plane. And the dignity that she's born, I think America needs to look at these families and understand that they don't even get the courtesy of the people that killed them saying, I'm sorry. Can you imagine losing your child and people turn into celebrities and act like what they did was all right, even after they find out if they thought they had a weapon, they didn't have it? They don't have the decency to say that I had a bad judgment. They defend what is indefensible. But she, like Sabrina and Tracy, has refused to lower herself.
That's right.
And in doing that, she's raising the nation.
That's right.
The mother of Jordan Davis, Lucy Macbeth.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm not here to accuse Michael Dunn of hiding behind the Stand Your Ground law. I am here to accuse that law of giving him something to stand behind. I'm here to accuse the state of Florida and 25 other states of creating legislation that is nothing more than permission to kill. Florida, know this, that there's a groundswell rising up and calling for change.
All right.
I see that change arriving in the busloads that showed up here today and all the foot soldiers that have come to this point today. Under our Father's grace in heaven, together we are uniting to announce that the good people of this country have had enough. We're coming together to say that we want our children and our husbands and wives protected. We want to feel safe. That the gun culture in this country has taken on a life of a runaway train comes to no surprise to anyone here. But beyond this dot on the map, the names of places no one has ever heard of are now emblazoned in the minds of every American. The entire country today will look to what is said in the state of Florida, because this is the state where Stand Your Ground began.
That's right. Yes.
And where soon after it has enacted justifiable homicides which have risen up to 200%. If this legislature cannot see the demon that they have unleashed and make a change to an egregious law, America will take stock of that. The backlash will go beyond the talk show jokes and newspaper columns that sling their ridicule at Florida's approach to justice. The anger will extend itself to tourism, commerce, industry, and the public perception. The Sunshine State will forever be branded as the Gunshine State.
Oh, wow! I like that!
My son's life was cut short by 3 bullets that pierced his organs and robbed him of his very last breath. But it was a shady law known as Stand Your Ground that robbed his father and I of any hope for justice. So I stand before you today on behalf of Jordan's father and my family and all those people that have loved and supported and prayed for us throughout the nation. We will continue to fight and we will continue to stand. We are not going away.
No justice! No peace! You have heard Attorney Crump talk about Michael Giles, this young man who served this country and who's now in jail 25 years for standing his ground against a man that said he was the aggressor. and that he was looking for someone to fight. But Brother Giles is like me and others, was blessed with a mother that would not rest and would not let it go unaddressed. And she joins us here today, standing up on this law, standing up for what's right. Let us hear from Michael's mother, Phyllis Giles.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Not good at this. For those of you who are familiar with my son's story, and it's gone out of time to petition, I thank you. And for those that are not familiar with it, I ask that you go to justiceformike.com and sign the petition. I'm sure some of you probably have seen this photo floating around. My son was attacked, as told, 3 years ago. It's now almost 4. Our son Michael was attacked outside a club in Tallahassee, Florida. His attacker admitted on open court that he attacked Michael without probable cause. All because his step for his fraternity that he was in got interrupted. He didn't like it, so he wanted to punch the first person that he saw. Our son Michael was the first person that he saw standing to the side. So he came behind Michael, leaped into him, punched him in the back of the head, and knocked him to the ground. So when the crowd of 20 to 30 people gathered around Michael, he feared for his life. So at that time, Michael fired a warning shot. Well, not a warning shot. He fired a shot and struck his attacker in the upper thigh. Not life-threatening. As a matter of fact, he was out of the hospital the next day. Yet my son is sitting in prison, facing 25 years. When is this ever right? It's not. The laws in Florida are unjust. I ask you all to continue to pray for my husband and I, and pray for Michael and I, and his children, that we will bring our son home.
Story is always the same. I just wanted to say, the person Michael Giles shot said he knew that Michael Giles was not trying to kill him. Okay. And that's the testimony, uncontroverted. But yet, when we say stand your ground, it don't work for us. And it's another case, Reverend Al, it shouldn't be called the stand your ground law. It should be called the don't miss law. Because if you don't kill the person, your stand your ground claim don't work. But if you kill the person, like we have seen, your stand your ground law works a lot better. How does that ever make sense in an educated society? To say, make sure you kill them, and then you'll probably walk. God bless us.
Give a hand to these families. Let me say, as they take their seats, let us not take for granted the presence of the premier voice of black radio of our day, Tom Joyner. Give him another hand. And the sister beloved that tolerates him every morning, Sybil's in the house. And believe it or not, J. Anthony Brown is here. He actually marched up the steps here to sit down. And I want us to also give a real hometown welcome to the voice of Tallahassee. Give a hand, Brother Bullitt. We appreciate you so much. We appreciate you. And our fighting Congresswoman, Corrine Brown. I know Brother Bullitt was going to do it, but I want to do this. I think if you read the Bible, God does not deal in confusion, he deals in continuity. From generation to generation. Even when we meet Jesus, we first meet his genealogy, because the struggle continues from generation to generation. And I want to bring on a young man who I've known and have watched grown, who has stood shoulder to shoulder as a young man in the generation behind me, I grew up under Andy Young and Jesse Jackson and others. He's grown up and is coming his own as a powerful preacher and a powerful voice from the empowerment movement, Reverend G.B.R. Harrison Bryant.
Floridians, friends, and countrymen, lend me your ear. One of the seminal moments of the Harlem Renaissance was when Langston Hughes declared, "Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up." And I wanted to come to Florida to announce to you what you already know, is that boards have been torn up. And what it is that we believe would make our children safe is not safe. We come and we're grateful for the presence of NOW standing with us as a reflection that this is not just a black issue, it's an American issue. And that all of us are on the front line. Every person who is here assembled understands the power of a mother's prayer. And anybody who has a mother and has ever been in trouble knows it was your mother's prayer that was able to bring you through. And as a consequence, we stand on the strength of Sabrina. We stand on the strength of Jordan's mother. We stand on the strength of those who in fact went before us, realizing that their children had an obligation and a liberty to be free. A few moments ago, Reverend Sharpton reminded us of Emmett Till, who in fact was killed viciously and heinously just because he whistled. And as a consequence, they maimed his body. And when it is that they were sending the body back to Chicago in order for it to be funeralized, it was his mother who said, "Open the casket. I want America to see what they did to our son." And ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the state capitol simply to open the casket, to let them know we are not going to allow these murders to go on covered up, but they have to see what it is that they have done. There was another mother by the name of Fannie Lou Hamer who said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." And we've come because, quite frankly, we are sick and tired. It was, in fact, our intention to be here on last Monday. But because of how it is that we had to reschedule, we had to come this Monday. Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
And because of that, nothing happens by accident.
Amen.
On this day, March the 10th, 1913, we would hallmark the death of Harriet Tubman. But on this day, March the 10th, 2014, we announced the birth of the new civil rights movement.
Whoop, that is! Whoop, that is!
That this is not the time for us to roll over and play dead, but this is the time for us to stand strong and to stand tall. Yesterday was the anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Today hallmarks for us Mourning Monday. But the good news for all of us is we know that weeping only endures for a night, but joy has to come in the morning. Originally, it was not Stand Your Ground. Originally, it was called the Castle Law.
Yes, sir.
But they had to change the name of it because how could it be a castle law if they don't recognize the king? And the reason why we're here is because we understand he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace is upon his shoulders, and by his stripes we are healed. We're thankful for the presence of our congresswoman who would in fact know that there is an emergency session that has just been released because they just dispatched CIA and FBI agents to fly halfway around the world to go and investigate Malaysian Airlines because Flight 237 has in fact lost its bearer. They took off, but they don't know where they are. An investigation is afoot. How can 237 people take off and not be found? How 237 people who had a ticket not be able to make it to their destination? An investigation is afoot because they can't find their baggage. They can't find their ID. All they know is that they took off, but they never landed. Another generation has now come, and we want to know what has happened to the civil rights movement. We saw you take off, but there is no landing. Somebody is missing.
All right!
And the question is asked, what happened to
All
the
right!
church?
All right!
The church that used to be on the front line praying for us. The church that used to be on the front line, not talking about Bentleys and Mercedes and big houses, but talking about the advancement of our people. What happened to the church? The question is asked, what happened to our leaders? Our leaders who understood they weren't doing it for popularity or for headlines, but they sang the original gangster music. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. What happened to the generation before us that traded in their dashikis for red bottoms and Louis Vuitton? What happened to the generation that understood it wasn't about suburban living, but it was about the advancement of all of our people? Somehow or another, the plane has gone missing. But I came to tell Florida, please don't think that we're going to be missing for long. I come not in the spirit of Trayvon, not in the spirit of Jordan. I came in the spirit of Marissa to tell Florida and the governor, this is your warning shot. That this is our last accountability. I stand, ladies and gentlemen. Sir Walter Riley said, you see further when you stand on the shoulders of giants. Bishop Adam Jefferson Richardson, who is behind me, understood and knew my grandfather's sainted memory, Bishop Harrison James Bryant, whose name I share. And he endeavored to become a bishop in the AME church 3 times. And every time he tried to become elected, they would not elect him. He decided to run one last time. And he came to the general conference of the AME church and he made this announcement: I'm walking in my last pair of shoes. I can't walk after this. You're going to have to elect me or I'm going to have to do something. I came to tell the state of Florida, this is my last pair of shoes. I marched when I was in Sanford. I marched in Miami. I marched in Fort Lauderdale. I marched a mile and a half just to get here. But I want you to know there's a generation that's tired of marching. This is our last pair of shoes. And we're going to have to do something to put the squeeze on. And so because this is an American issue and not just an African American issue, I'm grateful and I hope our president is having a great vacation in Florida. But please know this may be his last vacation in Florida, because if something doesn't happen, we're going to have to shut Florida down. Something is going to have to take place because the squeeze is on. So I'm thankful for our Representatives Williams and Smith, who have in fact offered a piece of legislation so that we can in fact amend and reform the Stand Your Ground law. But I need every person in this room who believes that our children have a right to life. Our children have a right to walk home. Our children have a right to education. Our children have a right to affordable health care. Our children have a right to be in college and not incarcerated. Would you declare out loud, the squeeze is on? Anytime the book declares in the new Jim Crow that the new plantation, ladies and gentlemen, is now our Department of Corrections.